April 5th today. I said this before, but I think now it's finally starting to feel like spring. It's supposed to go up to +9 today. We still have a tiny bit of snow and maybe not snow, but rain, cold rain. I think a couple nights are gonna go below freezing, but generally it'll be like this. There's a whole bunch of rain coming up. Anyways, it's pretty nice out. Things are starting to happen on a couple trees. I'm just gonna show this real quick. I talked about the Rose of Sharon tree before, how they're buds. It's not like a typical bud. It kind of forms this weird little knobby type thing. And then it's kind of got those little hairs on it. And then eventually those start extending. They'll get, probably out to where the tip of my finger is maybe, before they start leafing out. So this kind of happens fairly early. And it's all over the tree like that right now. These little knobs are forming. Those are the buds. So I'm thinking probably within the next week, we'll start seeing some leaves coming out of that tree. Otherwise, these hydrangeas, this one doesn't have a ton of things growing, but there are some extending out from the ground down there. This other one also has some decent signs of life. Pretty big one in there. The tulips, this clump especially is getting quite large. This big hydrangea has a lot of growth coming out of it. See it coming up everywhere. That's gonna look really, really good this year. And then the small one over here isn't really doing a lot, but there's a couple you can see right down there. This one has very different kind of looking buds. There's no big shoots coming out of the ground, but there are a bunch of buds everywhere. So that's looking pretty good. Yeah, right there. More tulips. We got these, I forget what they're called. Something. This is onion, maybe, leek. Got some ladybugs hanging around, taking out any aphids that are around, and oh, that's cool. This is pretty sure that's gonna be a maple seedling, probably Norway, from the big tree out front. That's the first little seedling I've seen come up this year so far. That's pretty cool. That's a sure sign of spring, definitely. Over here, it's mostly just crocus flowers and tons of tulips starting to appear. I think that's just a weed. I can probably get rid of that. Whole bunch of stuff appearing. We'll do a proper walkthrough later at some point once things start opening up a little bit more. So angry at myself. This is my little lemon tree, popping out new growth, looking really awesome. Except I just did a bonehead move, and I was moving something, and I knocked this and pulled it all the way out. The roots were upended. Sad. I think it'll be okay. Put put it back in the soil as well as I could, put those rocks on it to weigh it down a little better, and hope for the best. And this is the clementine forest, looking really nice. All of this is new growth right here, growing really strong. That one, that's all new. This one is a little, actually these might be new leaves, but it's a little slow to get going. Those are pretty weak and floppy. Oops. Hopefully that'll get established well. And my Christmas cactus here kind of wasn't doing super hot. It had those little bugs, whatever they are, crawlers or tiny little aphids or something. Yeah, anyways, probably 5 or 6 of the leaves fell off because I had, I was picking them off as I saw them, and that was going pretty well. But what I hadn't noticed was they were making homes kind of in the folds between branches like that. So there's none in there. I did treat this and spray it down the other day before bringing it out here, so I hope it's doing okay. Anyways, it kind of just naturally brought itself back to 2 or 1 leaves everywhere. Some of these had 3. You can see like that had fallen off in the middle. And actually it has been trying to flower a little bit. I think having it outside, today and a couple days ago, yesterday wasn't really warm enough, but I think that's been, helping it out quite a bit. It's gonna be cold again tonight, so I'll bring my sensitive trees back inside and then back out tomorrow. I can show this. The crown of thorns here is doing amazing, pushing out lots of new growth, even some flowers. So this is gonna need a heavy pruning and a repot soon. Even these little cuttings I took are living. These are ficus microcarpet cuttings. Got a bunch of seagulls attacking the neighborhood right now. Anyways, yeah, all these microcarpet cuttings, tiger bark ficus, are doing really good. The lemon is doing well. Hopefully it'll keep going. This is one of the cuttings from Christmas cactus. It's doing well. This is my other crown of thorns cutting that lived. The other one not doing so hot. Yeah, it's pretty much shriveled up and dead. So this one lived, but struggling still. Even this new shoot here is probably gonna die back. It also had those same bugs. I've been dealing with them on and off all winter. They were never a huge infestation, but just enough to, kill off some leaves and eat some of the nice fresh growth every now and then. So some of these pines are getting close. The needles are getting close to, looking like they're gonna start extending, but no movement on any of the buds yet. Landlord and I spent a few hours today setting up some air layers. She had these cups, air layering things. Anyways, I'm gonna take this one off the apricot. That's gonna be mine. I wanna try and, grow a small little orchard tree in a pot that's a mini copy of one you might see out in a real orchard. But anyways, this apricot is gonna start flowering soon. You can see the buds starting to open. This is such a beautiful tree. I need to do some work still. I'll be limiting any flower and fruit production up here, focus it to grow roots here. This one my landlord did, and over the next couple weeks I'm just gonna be setting a ton of air layers on all the fruit trees. All of these big long branches that grew off of the last year's pruning, those are all going to get air layered. Same with the pear tree here. We didn't start any there, but I'm going to do a bunch. Landlord just tied off a couple spots where she wants me to air layer for her because she didn't get time to finish, and they gotta head home tomorrow, which is about 6 or 7 hours away. Set one up on the persimmon tree. I'm definitely gonna air layer a whole bunch off that. I also wanna air layer a bunch of this eastern redbud tree instead of just chopping it all down. A lot of long growth that needs to come down. Try and air layer this grapevine a little bit. Might as well just use that to air layer. It's not the greatest branch to try and do something like that with anyways. And finally, we'll be air layering a bunch of this quince tree. This one for sure, it's kind of growing towards the railing. I don't really know what happened here, but that's pretty weird looking. Some kind of disease or something, or just dead. Anyways, I'll be cutting that off. I think that's everything that's going to be getting air layered. I might do a couple things here and there, but everything else I'm just going to prune and try and grow some cuttings from. Don't play shy. Come here. Well, it's April 7th, and I had just spotted the first pollinator of the season, but it disappeared, and I didn't realize there was a robin in the tree beside me there. Collecting some dry grass to make a nest. So it's April 10th today, and I came out to do my morning rounds. Found a bit of a disaster. Partially. Something has gotten into the buds of this pear tree. Started eating them. You can see this one is all the way gone. Maybe they'll come back out. These are the fruiting spurs, so that's really sad. That one got messed up too. Some of them are still good, like this whole branch has good, there's 4. These ones are good. That one got eaten. right there. I think that one got a little bit chewed up. These ones up here got eaten. These ones are okay, those are okay. There's a couple more forming. This one got eaten. Two got eaten up here, that one and this one. The one that produced fruit last year, I think, was right here, actually. So that's pretty sad. Up here is okay. This one got eaten. So I do know what it was, because I did a little bit of a stakeout. Just sat inside watching out here, and a squirrel climbed up the trunk and came here and started trying. You know, this one was already a bit chewed up, but it might have got that one a little bit again. So I know what the culprit is now. I think I might try and build little cages or something to go around these. And, you know, the squirrels won't be able to get them, but any pollinators would, because I'm going to make these little cages out of some, you know, some of this mesh, hardware cloth, whatever. I don't know. Hopefully that works. See what happens. It's April 12th today, and you know what? This is the first perfect day of the year. First day where it officially, finally, really feels like spring. There's not a cloud in the sky. It's going up to plus 17 today. It's about 1 in the afternoon, so it's almost there. I'm just going to do a walk around the yard and just talk about, you know, the progress of all the trees and plants, how they're looking right now, what the buds look like. First, let's look at this Rose of Sharon. I talked about this one before, and how the buds kind of extend out as twigs first before they actually leaf out or do anything. So that's what's happening here. There's some other ones. You can see like just how big and knobbly some of them are. Bunch of them coming out here, so that'll start leafing out fairly soon. That's a good, promising sign. And you know, there's a whole bunch of grasses and different things. Lots of different things coming up here. I won't really talk about everything, but the hydrangeas that I pruned are doing well. These ones have some new growth coming from the base, and the buds are developing as well higher up. This large one is doing well. There's also a bunch of these little Norway maple seedlings popping up everywhere. I'll probably just end up pulling them out. I don't really need any more of them, and there's a ton of them in the yard. So anyways, this one's doing really well, growing a bunch of stuff. Tulips are going to be really nice. This one is huge. This one flowered like crazy last year, so it's going to be a big producer this year as well. Lots of big, fat new growth coming out the bottom. Also some buds that are, you know, doing well. So overall, looks really good. The small one over here, a little bit of, you know, the buds are plumping up a little bit. Actually, I just noticed there is something coming down there. That's really good news. Some more over there. That's good. Next is the evergreen spindle, the euonymus something. Pretty much no change since I pruned it. I think, you know, some of these buds have probably gotten a little bit bigger, you know. Like here I pruned off the tip, and then these buds probably have plumped up a little bit. Overall, that's looking good. The rose bush down here is looking really awesome. These buds have gotten huge since I pruned it not too long ago, last month or so. Yeah, that's really promising. There'll be lots of growth there. This is the garden phlox that flowers, but you know, there's tons of it. The pomegranate here, sorry, not pomegranate, persimmon tree here is, you can see the buds are starting to, try and get one in the light. See, the buds are getting puffy. Some of them are starting to get a little bit of green coming out, so I need to prune this one soon, definitely. I'm gonna do a bunch of air layering. There's one up there that my landlord did, but you know, I need to prune it to shape and structure. Yeah, that's it for now. I've got a bunch of my indoor trees outside for the day underneath an umbrella in full shade. So I've shown most of these recently, all of the ones over here doing really well. Lemon tree, but I haven't really shown these in a while. That's the kumquat I already showed. These are a bunch of cactus cuttings that are all starting to grow. This is a mother of millions, it's called, and a bunch of its babies all over the place. My willow leaf ficus is doing really well after a winter indoors. And my ficus microcarpa, I keep battling with those little bugs still, but it's doing really, really well overall. Lots of growth. So I can do a prune and a repot on that soon, once the temperature is nice and consistent. Over here, I've got an Ohio buckeye tree that's starting to open up its flowers. I'm gonna collect this one, so I need to do that pretty much today. Yeah, I'm gonna do a separate video on, you know, some backyard Yamadori collection. This is one of the trident or Norway maples that's popped up in the yard, and it's got super cool movement. So, you know, I'll collect some seedlings like this, even though I already have tons of Norway maples, but they're popping up all over the place. This is Weigela. That's starting to open some buds. That'll leaf out very soon. It needs a major pruning. This growth is going crazy. I don't need all of that. This big cedar here looks awesome. I might do a little bit of pruning up top, especially to check its vigor up there, but I might allow the rest of this to fill out a little bit more before pruning it. I pruned it last year, and you know, my landlord was saying they don't really like how tall this is because it's gonna start competing with this apricot and the Weigela, and it's more of just an ornamental tree. So I'm gonna look into it, and I might try air layering it to somewhere around here. You know, they, I think, want all these branches on it still, so I might try air layering it here and keep, you know, at least 4, maybe 3 branches. I don't know, we'll see. But like the top branch, which would be my leader, is very cool. I would love to have that as a potted tree. I don't know if I can air layer it, but I'll try. This is another small Weigela. Needs some pruning. This is one of the apricot trees. This is a really exciting day for these because the buds are really, really bulging out. Bit of green appearing, you know, getting really red. Some of them died off apparently over the winter, but that's where the flowers are going to come out soon, so I need to do a bit of pruning on these, and I'm going to be, you know, doing a bunch of air layers on this tree, and then I'll be just pruning the tips of everything, you know, getting vigor to come down here. If I can fill out this area with some branches, that'd be really cool, and shorten the overall tree after taking a bunch of big air layers off this year. Down here, the sumac is doing really well. These buds look like they've started getting a little bit bigger, a little yellower. Down here, this raspberry bush is everywhere. It's starting to leaf out. One of the first things to leaf out. So I'll take some of those as cuttings and separate plants. You know, there's rooted individuals that have probably come out here. A bunch of grapevine I still haven't mulched up. This is the poor pear tree that I showed that, you know, its fruit spurs got all munched by squirrels. So sad. So I lost most of them. Hopefully they'll be able to grow back. You know, it's not, I don't know, it might have enough vigor to push out new ones before they start opening, but yeah. This one I was gonna try and save, but it wasn't doing so well, and I think, I don't know, maybe either it's starting to open or it got eaten, but pretty much everything got chewed off. I was devastated, but I put a couple in these air layering pots, hoping that would work. So far it has. So I've got 4 along this branch, 2 in here, 2 out here that are alive, and then there's another 2 inside here, and that might be a vegetative bud, but it's on the end of a fruiting spur. Anyway, so that's real sad about this pear tree, but I need to do a bunch of air layering and a bit of pruning to shape. The pear tree on the side of the house still has tons of its fruiting spurs. Squirrels haven't gotten to those. So again, over here, I need to do a ton of air layering. This is the one that I did about a week ago, just with what they sold as sphagnum peat moss, but it's pretty much just peat moss, I think, all shredded up. I added a bunch of perlite into the mix, and we'll see what happens. This is my first time doing an air layer. I've been talking about it for years, learning about it, but this is my first time trying it. So yeah, these apricot flowers are gonna be out and beautiful in no time. Over here I've got my bonsai benches, of course. This tiny little pine I had inside, I was gonna keep it in the shade actually. These are all the ones I've repotted, except for the birch, silver birch back there, or paper birch. Pretty much gonna try and repot everything, but nothing's really, you know, a lot of these pines double flushed last year, so a lot of this growth looks fresh still, but the buds, you know, the candles aren't extending. They've been kind of long for a while, but I think actually there's just starting to be a little bit of color and maybe a little bit of growth even on the tips of some of these cedars. Maybe not growth, but they're starting to green up a little, looks like. That's a good sign. Everything else is doing really well. Big spruce here, that's what the buds look like. They're huge and fluffy, and they'll be bursting soon, definitely. The Norway maple down here, the buds are starting to change colors a little bit. The ones on that one are enlarging. I pruned those a while back, earlier in the winter. This is my only sugar maple, and its buds are starting to extend. They're gonna get real big and fat before they open up. More Norway maples, I'm gonna make a forest out of those. take this Norway maple out of this pot, repot it. Those roots have gone crazy, but everything else is kind of just, they're cuttings that I want to just keep there. So I think I'll just try and pull that out of the pot on its own. Down here, some of my potted raspberries are starting to flush out. They're doing really well. Big wigelia there. Big spindle there. More bonsai trees. This big pine, I don't know, the needles around it are kind of yellowy, and to me the bark doesn't look super healthy. I don't know, it might be okay, but it looks kind of, you know, mottled or blotchy to me. I don't know, but I think I need to get that in a new pot. It definitely needs water today. Yeah, it's grown really big. I think it's been in here 2 years. I need to get it into a bigger pot. Also, yeah, everything else is doing well here. 4 pawpaws that I didn't prune. I'm gonna repot them soon. The big eastern redbud, I haven't done any pruning or air layering on it yet, but its buds are starting to get pretty big. Looking really interesting. And the grape over here, grapevine, I pruned a little bit up here, but I still have some to go over there. The buds are starting to plump up a little bit, but nothing too crazy yet. And finally, over here is the quince tree. They're actually starting to open up. So I'm gonna get some leaves on that soon. I want to try and take some cuttings and a couple air layers off this one as well this year. Okay, well, that's it for the backyard tour anyways. Early spring tour. Finally feels like spring officially today. Beautiful day. Gonna have a great time out here doing a bunch of stuff today and over the next week or so, getting everything prepared for the next growing season.